help those clients make those transformations that they so want.
Yeah. I mean, and most of the work I've done, I really liked, in your intro, you said we all want to be emotionally connected. And I think we the ultimate, I've come round to maybe the Beatles were just correct, and maybe all there is love, and I've maybe done all of this work for 20 years, 25 years, that I could have just taken the Beatles' word for it and maybe not have had to do all that work. It's just all there is love. But when the essence is that we really all want to be loved and seen and heard. We want to feel love. We want to give love. We're mammals. We have that sort of innate being.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, you just got to even just look at how we live. We live in communities. There's not many of us who, there are people who do choose to live, by themselves on a hill, nowhere near anybody. But in a general rule, we do tend to form together in communities and tribes. So we're very much connecting people, if you like. So I want to move on to, let's take some steps here. Learning about their body. So if you were to, if someone's, I think so many of us don't even know our bodies, don't even know, can we just dive into that a bit, just to get the conversation going in that direction? Help me, Myola.
I think our bodies, and you said in the beginning you're interested in what a sexological bodyworker was, and it's, for me, what we do is we work through the body. So we work somatically, which I think is Latin for of the body. I think it's that simple. But often we have overridden our bodies, and with all sorts of things. We tell it what clothes to wear. We tell it when to eat, what not to eat. We tell it, we make it go to things it doesn't want to go. We ignore it when it does want to go to things. So often it's overridden. So we have forgotten a lot of times about what it is to have a body and how it feels and how to give it a sense of, but it's the place that we feel sensations, and it's the place that we are beings here, and this is the physical being. So that's the part that walks us around and the parts of us that move us around in the world. So getting in touch with it and it's also the places that memories are stored. So often we can do sometimes the head stuff and, talk about things and clear things out. But often things are still kind of stuck in our cells, in our memories of our bodies. But before we even get to where the cells and the memories of the bodies, sometimes we don't even know that what our body is feeling. So I would invite you, if you could, as long as you're not driving or not doing anything, working machinery or doing anything, that take a few deep breaths and actually start to notice what is happening in your body. And, in the beginning when I start with people, they may not notice anything in the body. And for me, that is like gold. If we notice that there is a place that we're not feeling, if we notice that there's numbness, that's a starting point. That's a starting point of, wow, I can move from here and I can change. Just as I'm talking and you're breathing and taking notice, what is happening? Can I notice anything? Can I feel sensations? Can I notice emotions? Can I notice tightness? Can I notice expansiveness? Can I notice openness? And as we begin, so I encourage people to do that all day and be really curious. It's not like there's no right and wrong answers. I think we're used to things being, being right and wrong, or black and white, or this is how it is, set in concrete. But actually, it's our bodies and it's fluid. So in this moment, what do you notice? And what are you noticing as you move through the world? What do you notice about what you're sitting on, what you're leaning on, where you are? And as you notice those things, it brings you more in touch with your body and with what is happening to our bodies. The flip side, and why it's so important for people to be in touch with their bodies, is often then when we're in relationships and we're in arousal, we forget. We move very quickly and we forget and sometimes overstep our boundaries and overstep where we want to be because we don't have the skills to listen to, okay, I've had enough now. This is enough for me, or I want to slow down, or I want to, or more importantly, I want to stay right here because this is so juicy that I want to savor this and stay here. So when we don't know those sensations of our body and we don't know how it works for us, everyone works differently. We don't know how it works for us, then we can sometimes lose track of ourselves when we're intimate relating to someone else. Does that make sense?
Oh God, absolutely, yeah. No, I'm so it's really, getting present in that moment and really being aware of the sensations, as you say, the sensations, the feelings, the emotions. Because if we don't know that when we're not, when we're just by ourselves, we as you say, we get totally so lost and caught up when we're being intimate with somebody else, because it tends, and I think a lot of stuff, quote me if I'm wrong, Myola, is, what are they thinking about me? As opposed to, there's that huge element of that fear of judgment that just, ripples out through and intensifies, once we become intimate, because it then becomes about them. But really, it's about, it's starting with us, isn't it? So, yeah, I love that. Just taking those breaths and really just getting to know our own bodies, what makes us tick. And as you say, we're all unique. And the beauty of the beauty of your work and my work and a lot of work in the personal development world is that there is no right or wrong. And we are brought up to get the the big tick or the red cross, and that's it. But in all of this, there is no right or wrong. It's what makes you feel good, what makes you tick, what makes you agitated, what makes you angry, sad, whatever it is. So yeah, that's I think that's a wonderful start, and I can really see how you can be far more aware once you are, once you are in that intimate time together, you can be far more aware. So first part, sort of that awareness, which I love. So connecting and finding. So now we want to find the pleasure with ourselves, connecting with ourselves. Is that what this is about? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I think that is just not talked about, and that is way skipped over. And I meet people who've been married a very long time and together a very long time. And this part they've not even ever addressed. No,
I don't think pleasure is. I think pleasure has a bad name, or often has a bad name. Doesn't always, but it has a bad name. And for me, pleasure is different. Pleasure for me is how we express pleasure, is how we express love in motion. So if love was it's not always still, but how do we express that with ourselves and with someone else is often through pleasure. And I think that people get stuck with the idea that, that if we, follow the pleasure, or if we have lots of pleasure, we're going to be, we're going to just, eat Tim Tams all the time, or we're going to just do one thing. We're going to be these totally hedonistic and not caring about anyone else. For me, pleasure has a different sense, and if everything has a cycle, even pleasure is the same. So if we follow the cycles, if you find something that's pleasurable. So in Australia, we have this ad. We have Tim Tams. They're chocolate biscuits, and they are divine.
Oh, chocolate biscuits! So I was just going to ask you, what was a Tim Tam? I thought it was a fruit.
No, it's a chocolate biscuit. But there's an ad on the TV that, there's this genie, and, it's because it's a Tim Tam ad, they ask, this lady asks the genie for a never-ending supply of Tim Tams. And I think that's what we imagine pleasure would be. But, Tim Tams are divine. If you've had them, you get what I'm talking about. If you haven't, if you get a chance, get a hold of some. But I would say, after a few Tim Tams, I don't know, after a few, even Tim Tams there's going to be an end. There's going to be an end where you don't want any for a little while or for a long time. So pleasure is about keeping that, for me, what is pleasurable now? what is pleasurable? How do I, like, it's like riding a wave of an ocean. So where is the pleasure? And it's not always, eating 1,200 Tim Tams is it's not going to be pleasurable. There's going to be a time when you don't feel very well. So we don't want to continue doing that. We want to continue, well, how do I operate in a world with pleasure? And if this gives me pleasure, and how do I find the nuances of it? How do I follow that rather than this one thing is supposed to give me pleasure forever? And so I think that so if I translate that now into our intimate lives with ourselves and with our partners, we expect that one move, we find a move that's pleasurable. And we think that's going to be pleasurable for a long time. At some point that is going to switch over and it's going to become not so pleasurable anymore. It's going to run its course of pleasure, and you need to find a way of finding the next wave in that stroke, in that touch, in that movement, in that whatever it is that you're doing. You need to find the next wave. You need to be able to locate that within yourself or within someone else so that you can keep riding and keep following the pleasure. And obviously there's different intensities of pleasure as well. Well, I'm just speaking about pleasure in general, but you could, there's different intensities. So you can find the pleasure, and that might be a real subtle, joyful pleasure for a long time, or it might be that you want to move up the intensity level. So how do we follow that? But it's following. We often think pleasure comes from outside of us, and if the listeners are open to another little, I love exercises because I can get very geeky and talk about neurology and stuff as well, but I love when we can feel something in our bodies is when it's kind of real for us. We kind of have had an experience. So if you're still in a nice space and still breathing, don't close your eyes if you're driving, but you're still breathing and just see if you can get a sense of where pleasure might be in your body in this moment. And it might be like a top of a pinhead somewhere. It might be, and obviously you don't have to share with us where it is or how big it is. It's all just awarenesses and noticings for you. It might be, your pleasure might be totally through your body, everywhere. It might be, it could be a cosmic being of pleasure out into the universes. But just get a sense of where pleasure might be in your body in this moment and bring your breath and your awareness to it, because this is your pleasure in your body. This is not something someone else brings to you. This is not something, this is yours, and it's always there. And so depending on whether I think by now we know what we focus on is what we get more of. So if we're focused on pleasure and sensations and openness and expandedness and consciousness, then we get more of that. If we're focused on pain and contraction and closed, we get more of that. So if we're focused on just bringing your awareness and your noticing to the pleasure in your body, and if you've got no pleasure in your body and you can't find it, then try this exercise later. Sometimes I find these sorts of information comes to us when we're doing something mundane, like hanging out the washing or packing or unpacking the dishwasher, or doing something where we're kind of got our mind is taken care of and our body can speak to us a little bit differently. So if you haven't got it, but if you've got a sense of where the pleasure is in your body and you've got your breath, then just allow and notice what happens to it as you bring your awareness to it. Does it grow? Does it change? Does it move? We're energetic beings, so things often are fluid and move through us. And the biggest part for me when people discover this is they discover their pleasure is theirs. It's their own body, Louise. It's not someone else's.
I love that, and I love the way you've put that across there, because that pleasure, and related to the Tim Tams as well, that it does change and it does move, and it is, as we are energetic beings, and energy moves all the time. So, what worked for us at one point isn't going to work for us now, and it's just being aware that actually it's all about us inside of us, because No one else can make us feel anything. No one has